At Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, Cupcake eats you. Boy, that is really getting old. Five Nights at Freddy's is the big screen adaptation of the very popular video game series that started back in 2014, has had numerous sequels, spin-offs, including Security Breach, and now it is finally here. Jim Henson's Creature Shop was brought on board to take a look at the video games and use the teachings that Jim Henson passed down to everybody and said, okay guys, I had great attention to detail, you carried on, and I will say one positive right out of the gate, they absolutely nailed how the animatronics look. Holy shit, great detail, great use of the $25 million budget. Very good work by the Jim Henson Creature Shop. So, if you are a fan of the video games, you have 100% been looking forward to this movie. From Universal and Blumhouse. Not Blumhouse, not in Blumhouse. We're not going to Nirvana right here. We're talking about Blumhouse, which honestly is willing to get their fingers into any goddamn pie and any goddamn steak and just, rip and gnaw at that and basically stick their fingers in anything to make a buck. And I can't really fault them because they are able to turn a profit with just about anything that they put in theaters. And speaking of which, this movie is in theaters and currently streaming on the Cock, or Peacock as the mature people call it, and has gotten a world of hype. A lot of people were excited once they saw the stills and they saw the trailers, and everybody was wondering how would they pull off a movie adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's, which I'm going to be perfectly honest when it comes to the video games. The video games were never necessarily my favorite. I played like the first two. They were just a series of jump scares. They served their purpose as far as YouTubers getting, big views as far as reaction videos and everything. But the video game, they weren't really games. They were just a series of jump scares. Like they were okay. They've done way too many spin-offs, but then again, it's a mega popular money-making machine, so really what the fuck do I know? Just because it's not for me doesn't mean it hasn't made a fuck ton of money. It doesn't mean that people weren't really goddamn hyped for this movie. So, this was written and directed by Emma Tammy, who did The Wind. The Wind is really goddamn good, atmospheric, great isolation horror. I encourage you guys to check out The Wind. Dust in the wind, except it's not dust in the wind. It being The Wind, not the movie It. The Wind is really goddamn good. Let's get back to this. 4 other people wrote this. Yeah, 5 people wrote a movie about a video game, including one of the guys that actually wrote the video games. I mean, I know there's a story, I know there's a lore, but it's just a series of jump scares with a little bit of a threadbare story, and then it just got knocked down all around, come on, defense work. But there are people that are big FNAF, FNAF. They are big fans of the Five Nights at Freddy's long-running series. And one of the writers, or at least one of the people that did the screen story, whatever the fuck that means, was Tyler McIntyre, who recently directed It's a Wonderful Knife, which is going to be coming out in theaters and then streaming on Shudder soon after. I saw a special screening of it for a Regal Mystery Movie. I encourage you guys to check that out and check out my review. I had some choice words for it. Were they good? Were they bad? You will have to check that out. But let's get back to FNAF. So, yeah. But again, since I have no ties, no appreciation for the video games other than them being a money-making machine, I wasn't necessarily too excited about this, but I'm like, okay, you know what? Video game movies are here and there. I was really surprised the Sonic movies were so goddamn good. This didn't have the budget of the Sonic movies, but maybe this would end up being good. So let's talk about the cast before I give my initial thoughts. So we have Josh Hutcherson, that was Peter in the Hunger Games movies, and he's a good actor. I don't know why he got slighted so much in those. You have Piper Rubio, who's been in television. She's a little girl. She plays Abby, and Josh plays Mike, who's on the hunt for a job. That's really the closest I can get to saying one of my favorite insults without YouTube basically banning me. And there are other characters that get populated. We have Elizabeth Lale, who's in this. She was in Countdown, which was terrible. She's beautiful, I will say that. Matthew Lillard is in this. I bet he was just stewing for a different role. Rumors are they're going to try to bring him back for Scream 7. God damn, if they did, that would be stupid. Almost as stupid as Scream 6. And then you have Mary Stuart Masterson, who's in Fried Green Tomatoes, and actually is a very good actress. And there are some people you may recognize, a lot of kid actors. And if you have seen the trailer, then you know what to expect. If you haven't seen the trailer, basically, here's the baseline. Mike takes a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant, essentially, at the behest of a guy that is trying to give him a job, because Mike has some issues. He has some personal demons and some stuff that he's trying to overcome, and he's trying to raise his sister Abby and hope that he can do right by her. And he takes this job, and weird stuff starts to happen. That's pretty much it right there. But if you've seen the trailer, this is basically the baseline of, that's basically pretty much the baseline right there. They do nail the animatronics, I do want to say. And Josh is fine as Mike. I mean, he's about as good as a leading guy can get in a movie like this. And being a video game movie, you kind of wonder where they're going to necessarily go with this. Are they going to lean in the full camp? Are they going to treat it too goddamn seriously to the point that you're just going to laugh? Is it going to be comedy, horror comedy? Is it just going to throw the comedy out? Is it going to throw the horror out? What is it going to end up doing? Okay, so I'm far enough in the review to basically tell you exactly how I feel now. Besides the animatronics, this movie is shit. This movie is one of the worst goddamn things of the year. And I didn't expect much, and I got less. From the very beginning, I could tell that they were just going to phone it in. And Blumhouse has a track record of either doing really good shit like the Invisible Man remake, or they do something like this that ends up just not clicking at all. And I know there are going to be people that are fans of the video game saying, oh, you don't get it, you don't get it. Well, I know what I do get. I do get horror. This isn't scary. The jump scares were goddamn stupid, even by the video game standards. And they also made a PG-13, which was a big problem. Now, yes, that's going to get more people to go, but here's the thing. If they could watch it on Peacock, you're still going to get some... This movie didn't cost that much to where if you made it rated R, it probably would have ended up working a whole lot better. And also, yeah, there was another rendition or version of this called Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage that did it a whole lot better. Willy's Wonderland was fucking terrific. I'm not going to say it was necessarily wholly original because it was just adaptation / knockoff of Five Nights at Freddy's, but they did it good. They made it bloody. They made it brutal. Haley Cowan absolutely looked incredible. Nicolas Cage was great. They had fun with it, and it didn't take itself seriously at all. Even with the goofiness, there was just enough comedy, and none of the comedy worked here. But also, they didn't have nearly enough camp to offset the fact that nothing was scary about this. Nothing. And it's overly long. They could have cut 25 minutes off of this, made it a breezy 80 minutes. They could have cut off some things. And also, the story is so painfully obvious where they're going with it. And nothing, there's no emotional depth. Mike and Abby are okay characters, except within the first 10 minutes, you also realize that Abby's a really stupid and irritating kid. They're the only ones, of course, fleshed out. I mean, the character Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lail, she sort of gets fleshed out in a really stupid way. I will say that there are certain movies that this reminded me of. It reminded me of The Fog, the remake of The Fog. It reminded me of the remake of The Haunting. And that's about the closest I'm going to get to any spoilers is what I'll say. But yeah, the opening of the movie is just not all that great. There's a guy that's working there and things don't end well for him. And then we find out that Mike has anger issues and we see flashbacks to a particular thing and whatever. And then we just get to the point where it seems like it's going to just fully lay in and then, And then there's like one particular scene where it seems like, oh, the animatronics are going to, And then the movie just plods along. It seems to care more about some family drama that absolutely was just painfully unnecessary. Characters are just totally goddamn wasted. Matthew Lillard is totally I'm not even going to say miscast. He just seems like he literally wants to be anywhere else. This is a waste of his talents. Kind of like how 13 Ghosts was. And actually, now that I think about it, this also has some similarities to 13 Ghosts as far as its twist. That everybody could see coming a mile away. Anybody that could not see the twist coming in this, evidently you have never even been awake long enough to process what a movie actually is. Yeah, I hated this. Again, great animatronic work by the Jim Henson Creature Shop. It's in theaters if you want to check it out. It's streaming on Peacock if you have the subscription. I am going to get into spoilers, though, because really I have to spoil this stuff or I'm just going to go absolutely insane. So there you go. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so $25 million budget got them 5 writers that seemed like they were at war with each other. And there were good ideas, there was no execution. And so there's a guy that basically just ends up getting killed while he's on the job by the animatronics. And then I did like the NES style opening credits. Those were fine, I guess. And then Mike ends up thinking that a boy's being kidnapped, but it turns out that his dad's just forcefully trying to take him out of the mall. So Mike beats him up in the goddamn fountain. Matthew Lillard basically tells him, Matthew Lillard's character, Steve, basically tells him, well, you're having issues, you keep having insubordination issues. Take this job, the pay isn't great, you work nights, but it'll be fine. You at least will get back on your feet, and also you will be able to save your sister. Abby, at first you can kind of understand why she's a little bit off-center, shall we say, but the character's also super annoying. And so what ends up basically happening from here is Vanessa, Elizabeth Lale's character, comes in, and she ends up offering a little bit of backstory, even though it's very obvious what her tie to this whole damn thing is, and she knows a little bit too much about the place. There are flashbacks where basically Mike saw his brother Garrett being taken while him and the parents were on a camping trip, and he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So the mom died, the dad left them. I don't know where the hell the dad went, but he just left. He'll take the job, or he will lose his sister. And I will catch you on the flip side, hopefully. Yeah, this movie deserved to be flipped into a pit and burned, set on fire, preferably with every screenplay adaptation. So, the training video was very 80s. I was convinced that the actress there was actually one of the animatronics. And state-of-the-art animatronic tech with lithium batteries. The cheap-ass jump scares, at least they kept that from the video game, except they were at least a little more earned in the video games, at least the early ones. And then there's a babysitter, character of Max, and also Mary Stuart Masterson. She is the aunt that's trying to take, Abby away. And it turns out this babysitter actually has been shadowing and babysitting and not worrying about getting paid because she's going to get paid by the aunt once she gets evidence. And the guy that apparently is with Max, or a friend or a brother, or likely just somebody that wandered onto the set, said about this husband lawyer guy, is that guy okay? And the guy says, I just realized I shouldn't be hearing any of this. As a matter of fact, I shouldn't even be here at all. And that could be applied to all of us because nobody really wanted to be here. By this point in the movie, I was totally checked out. So this guy's idea, by the way, is to take a crew of people, including Max, and break into this place, bust up the joint that's already in disarray, by the way. You're a security guard at a place that's basically broken down. And then, okay, so the animatronics end up killing. There's the flying cupcake creature that I know has a name, and I don't care because I'm not committing it to memory. There are the characters that are a little bit later on. There's Freddy, obviously. There's Bonnie. There's Chica. And Foxy. And the rest, to quote Homer Simpson. So, yeah, basically, the cupcake ends up eating a guy. Eating a guy's face. Everybody gets offed in stupid ways because they're all stupid characters. And then Mike, it has more flashbacks. He's talking to these ghosts. These ghosts that are obviously the children that are in these animatronics. Why? Because it turns out that somebody has, killed these children. The same person that ended up kidnapping Garrett. Why? Because they're a really creepy person. And there's only one person it could end up being. But I'm going to get to that here in just a little bit. Abby goes to work with him. She makes friends with the animatronics. She also does drawings with all of her friends. And it turns out it's all these animatronics and these children and these people she's never met, but she's friends with them because she has a second sight because movie. And then he basically is trying to, save her, trying to make sure she's all right. Let her be happy, but also recognize that this is a really fucked up situation. Vanessa knew that ghost children were possessing the robots, and why does she know that? You want to know why? Because it turns out that she knows who is doing this very, very well. She knows way too much about this goddamn place that Steve hired her for. It's her dad. It's her dad. So it is basically, essentially, The Haunting, The Fog, and 13 Ghosts, the remakes, Human Centipede together, just done worse. Done a whole lot worse. Now, it's not really hard to guess the twist. And yeah, people say the pieces add up, of this 20-piece puzzle. Like, really, there's nothing to put together here. A child could have put this goddamn thing together. In fact, I think a child might have ghost-written this, ironically. So, yeah, Mike keeps falling asleep, keeps having flashbacks. Vanessa says, you bring Abby back here, I'll shoot you. He has one flashback where basically one of the ghost boys says, well, what will you give us? Oh, I'll give you anything that you want to see my brother again and be happy. And then he gets that. And the ghost children say that they want Abby. Why? Because they're being controlled by Matthew Lillard. And yeah, that's basically it right there. Vanessa finally stands up to the whole goddamn thing and is going to shoot her dad, that finally reveals himself as the yellow rabbit. He's this creep that's been killing, and apparently has been able to keep this secret this whole goddamn time. He's dressed in one of the animatronic suits, but he's alive, and he has enough padding to where the gears won't get in him, but they can protect him from being shot. It's sort of, but not really. But he has this control over the children because of drawings. No, really, the drawings. So all Abby has to do is change the drawings around to say, hey, look, this yellow rabbit was killing you guys, and he killed you, and look what he did. And now then the ghosts turn on and are beating him up. And the gears are digging into him, and he's comically overselling this whole thing like F. Murray Abraham and whoever the hot redhead was in 13 Ghosts. I don't remember her name, but she was hot. But everyone is just completely goddamn idiotic. Vanessa ends up getting stabbed by her dad before this, because he's got a knife, but Abby changes the drawings, so then Steve's getting killed. So goddamn fucking stupid. Emma Tammy deserves to direct a better goddamn movie than this. The Wind was great. And then she says, they can see you now. They know what you did. I can see clearly now this movie's dog shit. And it, is not going to get better along the way. And this is probably going to get a sequel because it's going to make a lot of money. And, yeah, there you go. Matthew Lillard ends up getting incapacitated. The ghosts are checking on him. He's not doing well, but somehow is still alive, despite the gears sticking into him. And apparently, with him able to just suddenly bleed out but be fine. And everyone's fine. He checks on Vanessa, and that's it. Five Nights at Freddy's was one of the worst movies of the year. It's not the worst movie of the year. That would probably be Exorcist Believer. But this is, for the low expectations I had, which were almost in the Earth's core, they didn't even meet those. Yeah, this was dog shit. Great animatronics, that's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Reckland. I'll see you soon.